It is Thursday, March 19th at the Penn Creek Campground, Sumac State Park. Oh, I look horrible. Okay, whatever. I'm doing some little campsite reviews while I'm walking around here. So, this is number 5. Huh. Interesting. Okay. I mean, a slight grade. I get the feeling this one would have a decent amount of sun. I have no idea what this concrete slab right here is for. It is not really particularly level. I guess you'd park lengthwise across here so that you'd have this whole area. Or in theory, since there's no barrier, you could just pull your car in right here. I mean, there is a little bit of a grade here. Nothing's really level. It needs to be raked because there's probably some bugs and stuff up in there. But if you're camping, bugs aren't a huge problem, right? Bear box looks pretty good. It is nice that it's right by the water faucet. Okay, here is number 4. Huh. It's like right next to another one. So you'd have like no privacy from your neighbor at number 1, it looks like. Anybody have any idea what in the world this was for? Maybe it's a bench. A person could certainly use it as a bench. Yeah. The table's in decent shape. So's the fire pit. Clearly there's going to be a decent amount of sun because it's pretty open right here. Bear box is in good shape. Well, let's go over here to number 1 since it's right next door. They're both really small campgrounds, but they're pretty level, actually. They're pretty level, which is always good because that definitely gives you some options with your tents, you know? Bear box is in good shape. So's the table. You know, whenever I see firewood in somebody's, in their, their fire pit, I always just sort of want to grab the firewood, but I don't want to carry it all the way back to my camp because this is not very close to camp. Look at this culvert. That's neat how they did that. Okay, this is number 3. It definitely needs to get raked out because there's lots of decomposing leaves and everything, and bugs do like to hang out there. It's not that open up here, so it shouldn't be that sunny. I don't know, there's a decent amount of level area, but the table is sort of, I mean, it's growing its own moss, you know? It's growing some moss. The driveway is not level. It's got a slight grade to it, but down here it is more level in the actual campground, which is good. The bear box is in decent shape. I am noticing that the brown bear boxes or bear lockers, saying they're a bear box implies you're going to lock up a bear inside. Nobody would want to do that. The green ones are slightly smaller than the brown ones. Okay, so here is number 2. Slight grade on the driveway. It's long enough to park a couple cars, which is good. The campsite has like pebbles everywhere. There's lots of gravel. Lots of gravel, like in where the tent would be set up. Lots of gravel, which indicates that the ground might be hard to pound tent stakes into. At least that's been my experience when there's been lots of gravel. The table's in decent shape, but it is growing its own moss, so there's that. But see what I mean about these bear lockers? The brown ones are slightly bigger. And here is number 15, which, I mean, I have no idea where the heck you'd even park, I guess. Lengthwise right here, there's not really room to back in very much. There's sort of a dip right here. In theory, you could put a small tent right there, but then you'd risk being in a puddle if it rained. Elsewhere, I'm not going to say it's level. There's a slight sort of grade to it. So it's slanting sort of away, like towards the entrance. It's slanting a bit. It's more just actually flat, but it does have a slight grade. It seems fairly level right over here, but I mean, the fire pit is right there, and you don't want to put your tent right next to the fire pit. That's just generally a bad idea. So that was number 15. Okay, here's number 14. Oh, there's enough room for a couple cars to park out front here, probably 2 or 3 cars. It does look pretty flat. Maybe a slight dip in the center that would become a puddle, like right around right here where I'm standing. There's some tree roots right here, which, I mean, it's always a trip hazard to have tree roots, and depending on your setup, they could definitely impede setting up your tent very nicely. It is always interesting when there's stuff like back behind the campsites, because they're generally animal trails where little animals might be entrenched and living. It's a decent campsite. I do have full 5G right here. So that was number 14. There's a water spigot right there, and there's the trash, which might be pretty loud with people using it. Okay, number 13. They definitely need to clean up these campsites before anybody's gonna stay there. This one looks... There's lots of sort of dips and valleys to it, it seems like, but there's some sort of level areas, like over here towards this side of the bear box, and back over here. That might sort of turn into a little valley mud pit, which is not great. But things seem to be pretty level, you know. Things seem to be pretty level here, at least as so far as I can tell, what with all of the branches and rotting leaves on the ground that need to be sort of hoovered up. I say hoovered up. Use the leaf blower, you know? Okay, number 12. So, probably parking lengthwise on this one. You're only allowed like 2 cars, but yeah. Oh wow, there are tons of tree roots in this one. I would not stay in this one. There's just too much tree root. There's really not anywhere good to set up a tent because, I mean, look at all of these tree roots, you know. But it is beautiful with the moss. You know, the moss is almost like grass over here. It is gorgeous. It's just, you got to be able to set up your tent unless you're bringing a camper. But if you're bringing a camper, then the odds are good you are not really a young person, so you've got to be a lot more aware of all of the trip hazards, and this one has a lot of them. A lot. Oh. Bear box looks good. And, you know, so does the picnic table. The picnic table looks good. It's just, it's not level because there's really nowhere level to put the picnic table. Yes, lots of tree roots like that. So that was number 12. And it's got a water spigot right here, which could mean traffic. maybe a person could, no, I think this is, yeah, this is a trail. So you're not going to put your tent right up here because there's a trail. In theory, for number 12, you could park over there and put your tent right here. I mean, it's flat at least. No tree roots. But, I mean, you know, there's so many tree roots in number 12. I would never camp there. It looks like a nice one, except for all of those tree roots. They are a safety hazard. But what can you do? The tree needs its roots to live, you know? So this is number 11 right here. It's got a slight grade. It's slanting down somewhat away from the where the picnic table is. It's got a slight slant. It looks fairly flat. This right here next to the bear box, it looks both flat and level. So that's good. It is always nice to come across a spot where you can hang up a hammock, and this right here looks like a pretty good spot for that. You know, in theory, you could hang up one from that tree to this one as well, except you'd have to sort of have a ladder or something so that you could hang up the hammock farther up there because of this bush right here. I like my hammock tent a lot. Although I guess in theory you could hang up your hammock right across right here. Okay, that was number 11. There's the bathroom. I don't know if that one has showers. I'll go look in a moment. It probably does, maybe. It was remodeled, it looks like. This is number 10. Oh, wow, this is a nice one. It's very sizable. There is one tree root coming through right here, but this is a nice one, you know? It does have a slight slant to it heading towards the bear box, but everything is pretty flat. It's always nice when things are flat, even if they've got a slight grade. I don't know, you could put a tent there, but I wouldn't. It sort of dips in right there, so you're gonna be in a puddle if it rains. Bear box looks good. No moss on the, well, okay, a tiny bit of moss on the table. This is a nice one. Let's see. Yeah, I've still got 5G, so that's nice. Okay, let's make a brief check of the bathrooms here. Okay, so it looks like there's 3 bathrooms. They are locked because it is off season. water fountain. Okay, and yeah, there's 3 showers as well, it looks like. Yeah, very good. Very good. It's 10:30 in the morning. Okay, this is number 9. And there is a grade. Things are going slightly uphill when you come off of the street there. The table looks like it's in good condition and the fire pit's in a good spot. Getting further in, there are a lot of tree roots. In theory, you could put a little tent right here. If you've got a little one, there are some tree roots. And it's not like fully flat or anything, but it's nice that it's like a spot that can't be seen from the street. Even with all of the tree roots, there's not a ton of tree roots right there. You know, just a thought. Otherwise, there's enough room for a tent right there. And I wouldn't put one in where all of the tree roots are, you know, not unless they're small tents. Yeah, you can't really put one in there just because of that huge tree root. So I guess there's room for a tent here where I'm walking and one right there. And yeah, I mean, there's room for a few tents in here. You know, there is. Of course, this is where you're going to park your car. Right here. Huh. Okay. Okay, so number 8. This is the parking area, I think. Yeah, this is the parking area for number 8, and you go back this way uphill, and the entire freaking campground up this way is tons of tree roots. My goodness gracious. There's a lot of tree roots. Wow. This is not a safe campsite. Wow. So once you get past all of the tree roots, you've got like a sort of a moss meadow over here. It's got lots of sort of dips and valleys, which are probably from tree roots. To me, there doesn't really look like anywhere that would be ideal to even hang up a hammock. This campground number 8 is not a good one. I would not stay at this one. Man, I'm tempted to take some of this firewood for tonight, though. Maybe I will. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to carry it, so it'll have to be on the way back after I finish doing my review of the Penn Creek campground. Okay. Green bear locker. So, number 8, not a good one. I wouldn't stay at this one. And the main reason is the tree roots. Okay, there's a trail that you can go on. And here is number 7. Huh. It's got a bridge that you've got to cross. I guess there's room for a tent right here. Definitely needs to have all of these loose branches raked out. And that is an active creek. It's probably Penn Creek, in fact. There's lots of tree roots, but not near as much as there was at number 8. You could hang up a hammock right here, I think. Let's take a closer... Yeah, there wouldn't really be anything in the way of a hammock and hammock tent. Just, you know, I mean, the tree's got some moss on it, but yeah, you could hang up, like, to this tree, not to that one. I would not hang on one quite that skinny. The campsite has a grade, you know, it is not flat really anywhere. Probably the best spot to put a tent is gonna be right there, and it's still there's a boulder. This is a boulder right here, and there's tree roots and stuff. So I don't know. Number 7 seems like it is pretty. In theory, if you've got more than one person with you camping, you could move the picnic table. Like maybe somewhere else, I guess. You could move it to give that spot as an option for a tent, because there's not really any tree roots or boulders in the way where the picnic table is. So, you know, you could in theory put a tent right there, right next to the creek, but it does have a grade to it. It's got a slant. It's a pretty campsite, but I don't think that I would stay at number 7 unless I didn't have a choice, because I didn't make reservations. I didn't even open the bear locker at that one. Okay, here is number 6, and what you see is really what you get with number 6. My goodness, it is really small. I guess there's room for a couple tents. It's got a slight grade. It's sort of slanting a little bit towards the fire pit over here. There's a whole bunch of tree roots, so you really can't set up a tent right here because it's covered in tree roots that tree needs to survive. It does have access to the creek, which is nice, you know, but your neighbors from number 7 might think that you're spying on them if you go to the creek. That's okay, you're camping. Everybody spies on each other, I guess. I don't know. The table looks like it's in good condition. I don't see any moss on it. Fire pit looks good. Bear box looks good. I think I started at number 5. Let's go to number 5 just in case. Just in case. It looks like number 5 would get a lot of midday sun. A lot. Definitely bring your own shade for this one because it is very open. It looks like it would be pretty level. It does need to have the leaf blower do some work up in here though, for sure. It's at least right by a water spigot, but it is very, very open. I don't know, maybe you could set up a tent back over here. You can sort of get through. Yeah, there's enough room to set up another tent over here too. It would have a little bit more shade to it. And in theory, you could set up a hammock back here. Okay, that was number 5. The table's got some moss, and it is so close to the bear locker that it would be a problem. Somebody's got to move that table just because it's way too close to the bear locker. It's a problem. At least it's one of the bigger bear lockers. I don't know, just swinging the table around, I guess? Yeah, I don't know. Just move it out away from the bear locker a little bit. Okay, well, I think I've done my campsite reviews pretty good for Penn Creek Campground at Sumeg State Park. I'm gonna get back to my little walking about before my mom worries, although, you know what? I think I'm gonna go grab some firewood from that campsite that had all of that extra firewood. Okay. Bye, guys.